Have you ever wondered if moving in with your children could cost you more than you expect in old age? It's a question that many of us face as we grow older. Especially when health concerns or financial worries start to pile up. The idea of living with family can sound safe and comforting on the surface. But the truth is it can quickly become a decision you regret. Today, we're going to explore 7 reasons why moving in with your children after 70 can be a serious, regrettable mistake, from changes in family dynamics to the slow erosion of your independence. These hidden dangers often don't become clear until it's too late. Stay tuned until the end because as we go through each reason, you'll discover how to protect yourself and why it's so important to think twice before giving up your own space. Let's get started. 1. Loss of independence and control. The first and most painful thing many older adults notice after moving in with their children is how quickly their independence seems to slip away. At first, it might seem harmless. Your kids want to help with groceries, remind you to take your medicine, or even set up your doctor appointments. But before long, you realize you're no longer calling the shots in your own life. Every routine, every little decision, even what you eat for dinner or how you spend your evenings can start to revolve around your children's schedules, preferences, and rules. This loss of autonomy can feel subtle at first. You may think, well, they just care about me or I should be grateful. But as the weeks go by, it becomes clear you're not living your life on your terms anymore. You might feel hesitant to speak up about what you really want or need, afraid you'll be a burden or spark conflict. That constant pressure to adjust and accommodate can chip away at your confidence, leaving you feeling more like a guest in someone else's home than the head of your own. The psychological impact runs deep. When you lose control over daily choices, it's easy to fall into a mindset of helplessness. Your sense of dignity may suffer, and you can begin to question your value or purpose, especially if you've been used to managing your own affairs for decades. For example, take Alan, age 74. He used to enjoy gardening every morning and taking long walks after dinner. But once he moved in with his daughter's family, his schedule was turned upside down. Meals were at different times. The grandkids needed rides and the backyard was off limits. Within months, Alan felt less like himself and more like a shadow of the person he once was. Losing your independence isn't just inconvenient. It can slowly drain your energy, happiness, and motivation. And the worst part? It's often invisible to others. So you suffer in silence while everyone else assumes you're better off. This is why so many seniors who make this move wish they'd thought more carefully about the consequences. It's not just about where you sleep. It's about holding on to the right to live your own life every single day. 2. Emotional strain and unspoken tension. Another major reason why moving in with your children after 70 can become a damaging, shattering mistake is the emotional strain. It brings not just for you, but for everyone in the household. Families often start out with the best intentions. There's talk of togetherness, support, and making beautiful new memories. But the reality? Day-to-day living under the same roof can stir up hidden resentments, old wounds, and silent frustrations that nobody expected. When you're living together, even the smallest misunderstandings can snowball. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells, always trying not to step on anyone's toes. There's a constant worry about overstaying your welcome or asking for too much help. Your children may seem loving and patient, but as the weeks turn into months, the atmosphere can shift. Little things, a forgotten dish, a loud TV, a disagreement about child rearing, can spark tension. And often neither side wants to talk honestly about what's bothering them for fear of causing hurt. The psychological toll of this environment can be heavy. You might start to question your place in the family, feeling like an outsider in what used to be your own circle. For many seniors, this sense of displacement is accompanied by guilt. Guilt for needing support, for not being as independent as before, or even for being in the way. Let's look at Eleanor. Age 78, she moved in with her son's family after her husband passed away, hoping for comfort and companionship. At first, she loved helping with the grandkids and joining family meals. But over time, unspoken rules piled up: where she could sit, when she could use the kitchen, what topics were off limits. She started to feel invisible, her opinions dismissed. The tension grew, but nobody wanted to admit it. The result was an atmosphere so heavy that she often felt more alone, surrounded by family than she did living by herself. These hidden stresses don't just affect your mood, they can take a toll on your physical health as well. Anxiety, sleepless nights, and that gnawing feeling of being in the way can erode your sense of security and happiness. And while everyone may pretend nothing's wrong, the undercurrent of tension keeps building, quietly damaging the family bond you hope to strengthen. 3. Loss of privacy and personal space. One hidden cost that becomes painfully obvious after moving in with your children is the loss of privacy and personal space. No matter how loving or generous your family is, sharing a home as an adult, especially in your later years, means constantly navigating other people's habits, routines, and expectations. The small rituals that made you feel at home, from your morning cup of coffee in silence to the way you unwind in the evening, can easily disappear once you're part of someone else's household rhythm. Your bedroom may feel less like a sanctuary and more like borrowed space. Even when everyone tries to be considerate, it's nearly impossible to find uninterrupted moments of solitude. Simple pleasures like reading in peace, calling an old friend, or even just taking a midday nap now depend on everyone else's schedules and moods. If grandchildren are around, their noise and energy may be a delight at times, but it can also feel overwhelming and exhausting, especially if you're someone who values calm and quiet. As time goes on, you might notice you're hesitating to do what you truly want, whether it's singing along to the radio, watching your favorite show, or just leaving your slippers by the couch. You start adjusting, holding back, and tiptoeing around, trying to avoid being a nuisance or making waves. This constant self-editing can make you feel like a guest in your own life, always seeking permission for the simplest things. Take Robert, age 76, who was used to his own little house and daily rituals. After moving in with his daughter, he found it hard to carve out time for himself. He felt guilty every time he wanted to stay up late or have a friend over. Even bathroom schedules became a juggling act. What started as a temporary solution quickly became a daily source of discomfort, eroding the sense of freedom and safety he'd taken for granted for years. When your personal boundaries are constantly blurred, it's more than an inconvenience. It's a deep, persistent ache. The absence of private space can quietly undermine your confidence and emotional well-being, leaving you feeling restless, confined, or even resentful. That's why privacy is not a luxury. It's a necessity for anyone, especially as we age and need more time for reflection and rest. 4. Financial risks and unintended consequences. Few people talk about the financial pitfalls of moving in with their adult children, but it's one of the most dangerous traps seniors fall into. At first glance, pooling resources and sharing expenses can sound smart. After all, you're saving on rent, utilities, maybe even groceries. But as the arrangement settles in, subtle pressures and unspoken expectations often begin to shift. Suddenly, you might find yourself paying for more than you expected, or quietly contributing to bills just to avoid conflict or feelings of guilt. One major risk is the blurring of financial boundaries. When families share a home, it becomes all too easy for money to get mixed up. Maybe you chip in for the new refrigerator, pay for repairs, or cover extras for the grandkids. Over time, what began as a temporary help can morph into a steady drain on your savings. You might even end up sacrificing your own security, spending down retirement accounts, or skipping things you need just to keep the peace. And then there's the risk of legal or tax complications. For example, transferring large sums, putting your name on a property, or even just making regular payments, can trigger unintended tax issues or jeopardize eligibility for certain benefits. Many seniors don't realize these traps until they're stuck, and by then, it's often too late to undo the damage. The emotional weight of financial dependence can also sting. If you've always prided yourself on standing on your own 2 feet, the loss of that self-reliance, especially in front of your kids, can erode your sense of dignity. Resentment can build on both sides if boundaries aren't clear, leading to silent frustration, arguments, or even fractured relationships. Think of Marjorie, age 80. She moved in with her son to help out. But within a year, she was quietly paying for groceries, her share of the mortgage, and countless extras for the grandkids. The costs added up until she realized her nest egg was vanishing. And there was no easy way to stop the slide without upsetting the whole family dynamic. Financial entanglements are rarely about the money alone. They carry feelings of guilt, anxiety, and fear about the future. If you're not careful, you can lose not just your savings, but your independence, your peace of mind, and your ability to make choices about your own future. 5. Role reversal and identity loss. When you move in with your adult children, one of the most profound changes you may face is the subtle but powerful shift in roles. For decades, you've likely been the decision maker, the one who sets the tone for the household, the trusted guide and provider. But once you become part of your children's home, it's common for those roles to flip almost overnight. Instead of being seen as the authority, you might suddenly find yourself treated more like a dependent, a guest, or even worse, a burden. This role reversal is often unintentional. Your children may believe they're helping by stepping in to manage your appointments, monitor your health, or take charge of household routines. Yet, the more they take on, the more invisible you can start to feel. The very traits that define your identity, your wisdom, your self-sufficiency, your place at the center of the family, can begin to fade into the background. Over time, you might notice your opinions don't carry the same weight, your stories are cut short at the dinner table, or your suggestions are gently brushed aside. Activities you once led, Sunday dinners, family traditions, holiday plans, are now directed by someone else. These small losses add up, chipping away at your sense of self. Consider Frank, age 83, who was always the rock of his family. When he moved in with his daughter, he was surprised to find himself excluded from family decisions, and treated as someone who needed to be managed rather than respected. Instead of feeling supported, he began to question his purpose and his place in the family. The sense of belonging he'd always cherished was slowly replaced by a quiet ache of invisibility. Losing your traditional role in the family can be a deep psychological blow. It affects your confidence, your self-worth, and even your motivation to stay active and engaged. Without a sense of meaning and authority, it's easy to become passive, withdrawn, or even depressed. This change doesn't just impact you. It can subtly undermine family relationships and create tension that nobody wants to address. When your identity is so closely tied to being the parent, the provider, or the anchor, it's hard to adjust to being seen as someone who needs guidance or protection. But it's vital to recognize that these changes are real, and to think carefully about whether you're truly ready to give up the role you've spent a lifetime building. 6. Erosion of relationships and family dynamics. A move that starts out as a loving gesture can quietly erode the relationships you value most. When you shift from being an independent parent to a live-in family member, it's not just your own experience that changes. Everyone in the home has to adapt. Spouses may feel squeezed or displaced. Grandchildren might struggle with new boundaries. Even simple routines can become battlegrounds over territory, chores, and expectations, and the emotional burden falls on both sides of the equation. Tension often arises when adult children feel the pressure to be both caregiver and child. They want to help, but the responsibilities quickly pile up. Your needs, however small, may feel like another item on their endless to-do list. This can lead to frustration, short tempers, or emotional withdrawal. You, in turn, might sense their stress and begin to hold back, stifle your requests, or suppress your feelings, all to avoid rocking the boat. The unspoken resentments can be especially painful. It's hard for a parent to admit that living together is straining the very bonds you hope to strengthen. Even tiny misunderstandings can snowball when people are tired, busy, or simply feeling overwhelmed by the demands of modern life. The result is often a quiet distancing, a subtle but steady loss of intimacy that leaves everyone feeling a little more alone under the same roof. Let's take Mabel, 74, who moved in with her daughter after a fall. The initial months were filled with kindness and teamwork. But over time, arguments over things as minor as TV volume or laundry piles became more frequent. The open-hearted conversations that once defined their relationship faded into polite small talk. Eventually, Mabel felt more like a tenant than a cherished mother, while her daughter felt trapped by responsibilities she never meant to shoulder alone. This is the danger of unspoken expectations and shifting dynamics. When families don't openly communicate or set boundaries, old wounds can reopen and new misunderstandings take root. The dream of closeness is quietly replaced by emotional distance, sometimes so gradually that nobody realizes what's been lost until it's too late. 7. Unpredictable endings and loss of control. One of the most unsettling truths about moving in with your children later in life is how quickly things can change and how little control you may have when that happens. Even with the best intentions and the strongest family bonds, life throws curveballs. Your adult children might face a job loss, a divorce, a move across the country, or health issues of their own. When you've built your daily existence around their routines and their stability, these sudden shifts can leave you feeling stranded and vulnerable. Unlike when you're living independently, you may not have a clear backup plan if things fall apart. If your children's circumstances change, you could be forced to move again, sometimes with little warning or preparation. This can be especially disorienting and traumatic for seniors who value stability and familiarity more with each passing year. The feeling of being in the way or unwanted can creep in even if nobody says it out loud. Take George, age 78, who moved in with his son after losing his wife. Things worked smoothly for a while, but when his son's company relocated, the whole family had to move to a smaller apartment. Suddenly, George found himself sleeping in the living room, his routines upended and his sense of security shaken to the core. With no clear place to go and few resources left, he was forced to make a quick and painful transition back to living alone. This time with much less confidence and a greater fear of the unknown. These unpredictable endings can also mean the loss of cherished connections. If grandchildren move away or family members become busier, you may find yourself isolated in a new setting, longing for the life you left behind. The loss of control over your own future is more than inconvenient. It's frightening, and as we grow older, regaining that control becomes even more difficult. The reality is, when you move in with your adult children, your future is closely tied to theirs. Your sense of home, your comfort and your daily happiness may depend on circumstances beyond your control. That's a heavy price to pay for what may have started as a practical or loving decision. Before you make a move, it's worth asking yourself, am I truly prepared for the unexpected? And do I have a plan for regaining my independence if life takes an unexpected turn? Final thoughts. As we come to the end of this, I want to gently encourage you to reflect on the 7 reasons we've explored today. Which of these stood out to you the most? Do you recognize any of these challenges in your own life? Or have you seen friends or loved ones go through similar experiences? This conversation isn't about judgment or criticism. It's about helping you protect your dignity, independence and peace of mind as you move through this important chapter. Maybe you're considering moving in with your children, or maybe you're already living together and questioning if it's the right fit. Either way, remember that you are not alone. So many seniors face these crossroads, and it takes courage and self-awareness to make choices that truly honor your needs and values. Your experience, your wisdom, and your happiness matter. You deserve to feel respected, fulfilled, and in control of your life. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these reasons resonated most with you? Or is there something you wish you'd known before making a big move? Your story could help others who are facing similar choices. And your voice adds real value to our growing community of older adults seeking strength and wisdom together. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.